Shown here is the cover to Amazing Spider-Man number 606. It's one of the most popular covers of the last 20 years, and it was drawn by J. Scott Campbell, and he's a real legend in the medium of comic book art, and I believe that Spider-Man 606 is his best work. And today, we're going to show off more great pieces from his portfolio. Welcome back to Comic Power. I'm your host, Comic Killer 72. Welcome to another episode of the Artist Spotlight. This is the program where I show off some of the best art pieces of some of the best artists in the comic book industry today. Please subscribe to this channel and also click on the notification bell as well. It will remind you when new videos come out. Warning, this video does contain language and images of the sexual variety that may not be safe for work. Alright, now let's get right into it. Here's the man of the hour, the man, the myth, the legend, J. Scott Campbell. Let's take a look at how he got started in the comic book industry. And we have to start with his former boss and mentor, Jim Lee, a real icon in the comic book industry. Jim was one of the 7 big name artists at Marvel who left the company to co-found Image Comics under the mantra of creators owning their own work. Jim's first release under Image Comics was Wildcats #1, which of course sold a gazillion copies. Jim established his own art house named Wildstorm, which would be distributed by Image Comics that he owned, and brought in his friend Brandon Choi to help him with writing. Jim was looking to expand Wildstorm into his own pocket universe and was actively recruiting new talent. And one of those new artists that he found was a young up-and-coming artist named J. Scott Campbell, and Jim Lee hired him on the spot after seeing his portfolio. And Jim and Brandon and J. Scott co-created a new team of teenage superheroes called Gen X. But Marvel Comics objected and threatened litigation over that name because they were working on a project called Generation X, and Jim Lee's association with the X-Men would confuse customers. So they changed the name of the team to Gen 13, and they made their debut in 1994. At its core, it's like X-Men First Class in that it's a story about 5 superhero teens and their mentor. But this is the 90s, so it was drawn in a very sexy style, and the team consisted of Caitlin, Burnout, Freefall, Rainmaker, and Grunge. Yeah, they really had a character named Grunge that has not aged well. The writing and the plots on this title were not that good really, but it was all about the art, which was fantastic. And it made a star J. Scott Campbell, who was the primary artist from issue 1 up to issue number 20 from 1994 to 1997. In 1998, J. Scott started his own imprint called Cliffhanger, which was a subsidiary of Wildstorm. And out of that imprint, we got the series Danger Girl, which is comprised of 3 sexy female secret agents. It's sort of like taking Charlie's Angels, James Bond, Indiana Jones, and Black Widow and mixing it all together. This series is still running to this day, both published on Image and now IDW Comics. There was even a Danger Girl G.I. Joe crossover one time in 2013, and it's been optioned for a movie by Constantine Films, with Jet Wadlow attached to write and direct the movie. He's best known for directing the movie Kick-Ass Part 2. There was a Danger Girl video game developed for Sony PlayStation back in the year 2000 as well. J. Scott has also published books on how to draw the sexy female figure the way he does, giving you a tutorial breakdown of his process and how you can do it too. And once you do it, you can have a template that you can turn into any character. For example, you can use it to make it look like Magic, or you can make it look like Gwen Stacy or whoever. In 2006, J. Scott signed a deal with Marvel where he would do mostly covers for them because covers sell comics. Marvel signing J. Scott has led to some of the most iconic covers of all time, including the Spider-Man 606 cover, which I talked about before. But don't forget about Black Panther Volume 5 #1, where Shuri becomes the Black Panther. The significance of this has increased because Shuri, who's played by Letitia Wright in the movies, may become Black Panther after the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman. It's figured that she may get upgraded to that position because in the comics, she's temporary Black Panther and T'Challa does return. But in the movies, will she become the permanent Black Panther? That's the question. I'll talk about it in future videos, but for now, let's transition over to the controversies and the criticisms involving J. Scott Campbell and his work. Some critics of his work say that he's actually bad at anatomy because he seems to exaggerate certain elements. For example, he draws his characters with very long legs, which you can see in his Captain Marvel piece. The Comic Power Court is going to rule him innocent of these charges because it's a consistent style he uses. For example, here's a Black Widow piece that he did. He's been consistently doing this because he had ambitions of becoming a cartoonist before he became a comic book artist, so it's a specific style of his. Who's guilty is Rob Liefeld. Look at this X-Force 11 cover. Look at Deadpool's feet and Domino's legs. That's not a consistent style. That's just bad. But let's move on. Controversial criticism part 2 is that Jason Scott Campbell used to be a great artist, but now he's just phoning it in. And that criticism came when he was commissioned to do a Red Sonja piece for a 1 in 50 cover. 1 in 50 means that a store would have to buy 50 regular copies to get this one special edition copy, making it very rare and valuable. So it should be a very special cover by a big name artist, and this is just kind of like a sketch. You can see that her iconic metal bra is not even finished. So my verdict is, if he charged them the full rate for this cover, then he's guilty. If he didn't charge them the full rate for it, then he's not guilty. But Dynamite Comics is guilty of publishing this when it should have never been a 1 in 50 in the first place. And why would he want his name associated with substandard work for such a high profile cover is beyond me. And the biggest controversy of them all was when he was hired to draw an Iron Man cover with breakout star Riri Williams, and he was accused of drawing her too sexy because the character is supposed to be only 15. If you look at this on the surface level, it looks perfectly innocent. You probably wouldn't understand what all the fuss was about. You're probably like Helen Lovejoy saying, "Oh, someone please think of the children," and just mocked it as a fake controversy. But you have to look at this in its full context. The American society had let too much go in terms of its depiction of teenage characters being over-sexualized in terms of real teens and fictional depictions of them. Society took a lot of L's. Let's take a quick look at that, please. For example, actress Brooke Shields got first famous back in 1980 when she was 15 and starred in a series of Calvin Klein ads that were just way too sexy and had the tagline, "Nothing gets between me and my Calvins." In that same year, she starred in a movie called The Blue Lagoon, which is about two shipwrecked cousins who form a relationship and have a baby. First of all, they're cousins. Ooh. Second of all, it was shot when she was only 14 and released when she was 15 years old. They used body doubles, for example, but it was still too sexually explicit for a real life teen to be playing in something this sexy. Hollywood has tried to self-correct this by, when they do material about teen sexual situations, they hire much older actors in their 20s and sometimes 30s. But they still take an L for using a 14-year-old actress in something like The Blue Lagoon. That was hugely inappropriate. Society also took an L for allowing R. Kelly to be a serial pedophile for over 25 years, including filming himself doing lewd acts with a 14-year-old girl. Thank God he's been rearrested on federal charges this time, and this time they're going to stick. And society took an L also for Jeffrey Epstein, who was a serial pedophile even longer than R. Kelly and was trafficking teens for sex at his private island. He too was rearrested and was awaiting trial, but hung himself in his cell. And let's be clear, J. Scott has never been accused of anything as egregious as Jeffrey Epstein and R. Kelly. But since we're in the Me Too era, everything is an overreaction to those past atrocities. So his artwork back in the 1990s over-sexualizing fictional teens in a superhero comic book is cringeworthy by today's standard. Like this scene where Rainmaker and Caitlin are arguing about sexual politics and the male character literally starts drooling. So the female characters are not three-dimensional here. They're just the objects of a male character's lust. Then you got the booty in your face between the leg shot. Is this something that teenage characters should be depicted in? And in this group pile-up scene in Gen 13 number 0, Caitlin's boobs are literally all over Grunge's face. She's like motorboating him. And then you have the bondage images, which basically double as soft porn BDSM. Is it too much to depict the teen character this way? Yeah, it probably is. And this is the reputation that J. Scott has. So you have to look at the Riri Williams controversy through the lens of his past discrepancies. So even though this image is pretty tame, his past stuff is probably a little too sexy for teen characters. So he's bringing that reputation with him into this. So tell me, what do you think of the Riri Williams controversy? And do you see it differently now that you know about his past work? Okay, now we're going to close this video by showing some of J. Scott's best work in his portfolio. Enjoy. You know the drill. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, give it a thumbs up, and share these videos on social media so other people learn about the channel. And don't forget, I do sell comics at my eBay page listed here with a link in the description. One Stop Thrift and Comic Power are run by the same guy. That would be me, Comic Killer 72. I have 100% feedback, by the way. And once again, thank you to my subscribers and viewers who support Comic Power. And tell me, what other artists would you like to see featured in the future in an artist spotlight? And until next time, this is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye.